Before we get cracking with today's episode of Film vs. History, we just want to let you know that our Patreon bonus episode this week is a mammoth 75-minute Zulu special.
Concert film.
It's a concert film of our... it was recorded over 2 nights in Leicester Square Theatre in London. About the Anglo-Zulu War, the heroic action
defensive
at Rorke's
war.
Drift. British bravely fought off a war crime of the Zulus. That's on the Patreon as of tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah.
Where for £3 a month you get access to loads of bonus episodes.
Yeah, best Patreon in the world.
We recently hit 10,000 members. Incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
And if you missed out on the live shows,
that's about how many Zulus were fighting at Rwanda.
It is how many guilty Zulus there are of this war crime. Indict them all. Hang them.
There's a lot of generational shame about the guilt they must feel.
There should be. If you want to see us live, there are still tickets to see us for our October live tour.
But they're going fast.
We're also doing a date.
Couple of quid for a pint of fish.
At the Edinburgh Fringe on the 8th of August. All tickets on screen. And anyway, on with the episode. Welcome back, you scrotty little pigs.
Hello.
I'm Joy. This is Finn versus History.
Hello.
I'm sat next to Horatio Gould.
Hello.
What's that? You've come back for more greens.
More?
You want your second dose of veg in a week?
You're going to be shitting like mad with this much fibre.
My God, this is fibrous stuff.
Yeah.
This is our second part in our Renaissance series.
We'll cards on the table. Some weeks we do more research than others.
Yes.
Often one of us will do more than the other and they can carry it. We've ended up, unluckily, neither doing any research.
It's been a Mexican standoff this week as to who's going to do the research. I ended up watching the film Zulu instead of doing any research about the Renaissance.
I was just staring at the ceiling, dribbling.
This is the second
But this is
part.
the Northern Renaissance, right?
Yes.
So it's moved from Italy. This is more interesting to me. I prefer these sort of paintings, actually.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Is it?
No, none of this is interesting. But
Is it?
No, none of this is interesting.
I prefer it because my favourite paintings, if I can get real with you guys, are Dutch ones. I like that sort of period.
Now, do you know what? Actually, in the last episode, we had a long discussion about how I don't understand art and I'm not moved by it. But I tell you what, I've often gigged in Amsterdam, and when I do that, I do go around the Rijksmuseum.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's not the Rijksmuseum that I would ideally like to go. Not the Third Rijksmuseum. I love that. Yeah. This is the Rijks, as in RIJK's museum. But the stuff in there is brilliant. All the still life.
It's amazing.
It's amazing stuff.
I like the restraint of some of the kind of the cold Dutch Protestant painters.
Yes.
Like Rembrandt. Rembrandt's one of my favourite painters. He's not Renaissance, I don't even know why I'm talking about him, but I still will. Rembrandt's one of my favourite painters, even though all he seems to paint is a boring bloke wearing a black hat sitting by a natural lit window.
What?
But it's somehow incredibly thrilling.
When was Rembrandt? What era is that?
Rembrandt's Dutch Golden Age. That's like 1650s.
So that's slightly post-Renaissance. Because I suppose what we should do we began this series with the start of the Renaissance and the High Renaissance of Italy, which is sort of 16th century, early 16th century. But the Northern Renaissance, which is Germany, Belgium, Holland, and then maybe England.
It's disputed because we basically don't really have that great a history of visual arts, like the English Renaissance culture.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, the English Renaissance is probably like Shakespeare, Marlowe, those sort of things, because a lot of the paintings were.
We'd like our boredom to be acted out in front of us.
Yes,
yeah. We don't want to
where we
paint
can see it.
We want to, whatever happens though, we're standing up.
But there's arguably a reason why.
I tell you, that's part of my problem with museums is that if I could get in a wheelchair and go around. I had a nice time. If they had like a railway track and you could just sit in like a car,
like a sushi train.
If you were on a sushi train in a museum and it was like up the stairs, down, and it was at a pace that you could sort of see the painting and engage with it, and then you maybe had a little button.
I think you've accidentally stumbled into an unbelievable idea. I think if you mix theme parks with art galleries,
that's a straight male theme park.
You'd probably want to stay as long as you'd like. Because the problem with art galleries is you don't know how long you want to stay at the some paintings you're like. Go.
Fuck that
but you should be able to have a lever, and so you stop, and you can stay as long as you like.
Yeah.
But then when you hold it, you can go like
really fast,
it's like stealth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it should be like looking at a Rembrandt. Like
it should be like
wow, that's
like
quite like.
It should be like dating apps where you're like, No.
Yeah, that's what an art gallery is.
Horribly ugly, smelly bottom.
I love art galleries, to be honest, but I have things that I like and things I don't like, and I've now got that pretty refined. So whenever there's cutlery, yeah, like bowls and plates and jewelry and stuff.
Right, so in the exhibitions,
right. Anything like that, I'm out. Jewelry, I couldn't give a fuck. Like, still life could go fuck itself.
Oh,
if you're painting fruit,
I quite like still
life. You
life.
can fuck off.
I quite like how Protestant it is that. Look at this beautiful apple. How dare we even think about? Like you look at the Italian.
Bores the fuck out of me.
The Italians are painting naked women coming out the sea.
Yeah.
And the Dutch are like, look at this beautiful apple. Yeah. I couldn't possibly. The thought of this apple. I think that's quite funny.
Not for me. I want to see like confused 45-year-old men with a receding hairline, sort of just looking out a window like, what?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm after. Rembrandt is definitely one of the best. But my favourite actual type of painting, there must be a name for it, but Northern Renaissance landscape painting, whatever it is, Peter Bruegel the Younger and Hieronymus Bosch are some of the maddest paintings I've ever seen. Hieronymus Bosch especially takes the absolute piss. He did the Garden of Earthly Delights. Get the Garden of Earthly Delights up. This is early neurodivergence, I guess.
What'd you say?
This is ADHD, autism, and I've seen this in real life. So it's on 3 like banners.
How big is this in? 80.
It's kind of like
it's 2 meters
quite
by
big,
2 by 4 meters.
Those are 2 doors that fold in.
Okay, so if you don't like it, you can just shut the painting away.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah,
I'd do that probably. Nope, don't like that. Fold it away.
So this is about basically sin. One half on the left you'll see is heaven.
It looks like sort of Camp Festival.
Yeah. But what it must be if your mate painted that, right?
Yeah.
What's going on, mate? You're right. Do you want to talk about it?
There's a bit of
Do you know what I mean? It's just like, hey lad, I've done a paint. Everyone's painting fucking religious art. Everyone's like painting just the normal stuff. They're painting Jesus on the cross. Yeah. It's like, I've done one.
Are you all right, mate?
It's like when if your mates start posting Peaky Blinders statuses on Facebook saying like I am the lion, you know.
I tell you, it's people who try and battle their mental health publicly by doing poetry on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you go, I think this could be done privately.
You okay, mate?
I think this painting could be kept indoors. Can you, for the listeners, explain what on earth's going on?
Go back on it.
On so the right panel, what's on earth
going on? So there's 3 panels.
Is that thing in the middle a giant
heaven?
arse? Is it a giant arse in the middle of that thing?
Yeah. And then the second panel is meant to be earth and all of our sin and all of our hedonism.
There's an orgy at the front.
So it's basically saying earth, we're all just fucking each other, eating.
Poo coming out of that pig.
Gambling, look like shagging.
Charlie's found a poo coming out of it. I think it's a deer, not a pig.
This is saying basically that it's how much sin and hedonism is in our life. And it's just the 3 panels of the Christian understanding of the 3 realms, right? It's heaven, earth, and hell.
Oh my days!
This is
What's
hell.
that? That's hell, right? So that's a guy who's also a tree bent over and his arse is open, and there's some people living in his arse.
So do you know what I mean? I feel like the Northern Renaissance. And we're getting cooking now.
He's got
this is what we're talking about.
And then there's a knife. It looks like a Pink Floyd cover.
Yeah, but this is in the 1500s.
Yeah, that is mad, actually.
To have this level of technical skill while also being this truly mad, because there's people who have these ideas, but none of them have the paintsmanship to be able to render the reality so vividly. Like a homeless guy, you know, under a bridge with a can of special brew, he probably would have been, if he could do that, he probably would have done.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So the Italian Renaissance is more about look how beautiful we can recreate the past.
Yeah.
And this is more like strap in, lads.
Fucking hell.
I've had a mushroom. I mean, it makes sense that it's Dutch.
So
isn't
LSD.
It?
Like
this is a stag do to Amsterdam, isn't it?
Well, Pia Novelli has this great joke where he says the British weekend is like a Hieronymus Bosch painting directed by Ken Loach.
Yeah. That is a good joke. Fuck me. Wasted on the pigs that I imagine listen to
Yeah,
it.
God.
That guy's got a recorder going up his bum.
Recorder up the arse. I mean, my daughter does that. That's not hellish. That's just the 3-year-old. Oh, that's a nun. That's a pig dressed as a nun whispering sweet nothings into a pale man.
Yeah, and this is in real life. This pit is tiny, so the level of detail he's managed to get. There's cards, so gambling, that's naughty.
Right. Yeah.
If I could have any painting in the world for free in my house, I'd have the Garden of Earthly Delights in my toilet.
Yeah.
So that while I'm taking a shit, I can just sort of you'd see something. It's like Where's Wally?
And I think there's no people in heaven. I think that's quite indicative.
Scroll down.
There's
Jesus. Scroll down.
There's
Jesus and maybe Adam and Eve.
So it's two girls, one bloke. It's
two girls, one cup.
Yeah, that's heaven. Dutch heaven is two girls, one cup, isn't it? That's their idea. If you don't sin in your life, then you'll get to go to two girls, one cup.
What's interesting is there's a black pool at the bottom of heaven with some quite nasty creatures coming out.
That will be the like River Styx kind of vibe, right? That's how you get to the underworld, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's going on with it? What's going on, Hieronymus? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just sit him down.
It's almost like
giraffe. How they even know what giraffes? That must be like. I don't think he's ever seen a giraffe. He must have only had it described to him because he wouldn't have seen it.
I mean, what's that thing in the middle?
There's a unicorn. There's elephants.
It's like a shrimp's head fountain. So it's funny because when you talk about the Renaissance, you don't think about this stuff at all.
Yeah.
This is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
So it's almost like...
It's kind of unmatched by anything since, really.
Is it that the church's power has sort of weakened and people are now feel comfortable painting their maddest fucking ideas?
Yeah. But it's also like a new class has come through as well. Yeah. This is new money, right?
So when's Hieronymus Bosch painting?
He's mid-1500s, and so the Low Countries have got very, very rich now. Because Amsterdam's on the rise.
Yeah.
But Bruges is a huge centre of art. Have you been to Bruges?
Yeah. Belgian beers are great.
Yep.
You know, sneaky 8%. You're absolutely trolleyed after two halves. Brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, that's delicious.
That's like Ribena. Brilliant. No, I love Bruges, and it's very close as well. Very close. So sorry, we've galloped ahead here.
Yeah.
For the listeners, this is the 1500s.
Yeah.
Right, that we're talking about. The Northern Renaissance begins after the Italian one.
The wealth of the Silk Road travels up north. The ideas travel up north, but it has a distinctly different quality to the Italian stuff.
So the Southern Renaissance, the main kind of feature of that is the revival of the classical, the humanism of antiquity. The Northern Renaissance is more about religion, detail, and reform. The artistic medium of the Southern Renaissance is frescoes and sculptures, lots of stone, buildings. Northern Renaissance, oil painting on wood panels.
Like this.
Themes in the Southern Renaissance, mythology, the human body, lots of nudes. Northern Renaissance, domestic life, religious scenes. There's a sort of pattern emerging here. Southern Renaissance, idealism, proportion, balance, the golden ratio, beauty. Northern Renaissance, hyperrealism, intricate detail. Look how real this fruit looks.
Yeah.
That's what Dutch painters are saying. I can draw a banana and I bet you can't tell the difference.
Or it goes so off the edge they become Hieronymus Bosch and they're just like, I think Tuesday's upside down. Yeah. Hello, goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. But the Northern Renaissance is more moralistic. It's basically sort of, it's autism versus ADHD, it seems. Now, I actually like this. Charlie's got a painting up of some... No, look at this.
Rubbish.
No, because the thing is, right, the reason I like this is that I can tell whether it's good or not.
Right.
Because, and for the listeners, Charlie's got a painting up of some apples, and the reason I like this is that when I see this, I go, that's a very good drawing of some apples.
But to me...
They look like apples.
Yeah, I understand that. But when it's just before they invented the camera, so they're like, let's just try and see how good a photo we can make.
Exactly.
We have cameras now.
Yeah, but they didn't then. So this is brilliant attempt at photography.
I can
judge the skill of the artist.
Right, Jan van Eyck.
When it's Tracy Emin doing a poo on the floor and winning the Turner Prize, I'm like,
what's good, what's bad?
What's good? Is it a particularly artistic poo?
So this is at the National Gallery. This is the Alforni portrait. So it's paid for by some rich merchant patron, I think, called the Alfornis. This is the most famous painter of the Northern Renaissance, Jan van Eyck. He's kind of the master of oil painting, which has kind of been around, but he makes it what it is, right? And this is why it looks quite distinctively different to the Italian ones, because they're using egg tempura. They're like using scrambled egg.
Right.
Yeah, to make their stuff. They're using egg yolks and fucking chalk or whatever. But then the oil painting was kind of refined in Bruges in the Northern Renaissance.
But it's not oil. I mean, what oil is it?
It's olive oil. I don't know what oil.
Yeah, what is it?
Don't know. I've never thought to ask.
Charlie, what oil is oil painting? So the Italians are using a kind of egg-based, like pasta. When do the Italians... Does Renaissance include pizza? When does that pizza come into Italy?
Linseed oil.
Linseed oil. Seed oils.
Seed oils. Yeah. We got to stop all this seed oil painting.
Pizza emerges in the 18th, early 19th century.
So this is the thing.
Late. Very late. Interesting.
It's interesting that the Italians always claim pizza and how to do pizza properly and stuff, but I think New York has as much of a claim to pizza as the Italians because they're both made around the same time, admittedly by Italians in New York. But Neapolitan pizza is one of the biggest cons.
I agree.
It sucks. In the middle, it all gets wet. It becomes this clump. You lift up a piece.
It's got a wet bottom.
It just all slides off.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of on like sourdough bread, but it's like, why am I... No, Americans, they get a syringe filled with chemicals that are going to kill you. They inject it
into
and
the
they basically give the pizza Viagra so that it's rigid.
Horny pizza. You know, there's a guy that reviews pizza in New York, and he
Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, he has a thing called tip sag.
Right.
That's how he judges a slice. Is he gets a pizza up and he holds it like that, a slice, and if there's minimal tip sag, it's good.
Yeah, but and also people who make their whole personality not liking pineapple on pizza. It's like pizza is not this kind of refined, like this thing that you need to hold like a standard to. Yeah. It's a fucking slab of cheese and tomato on bread.
I mean, as a teenager, I suppose I was the inverse of what you were just saying, that my personality was that I liked Hawaiian pizza. I wore Hawaiian shirts. I wore Billabong shorts. I was fat.
Well, you needed an elastic waistband.
I idolized Elvis, and I ate Hawaiian pizza, and that was me.
That's like autism on the first page of autism. That's like, I'm not going to look at anything else.
Yeah.
That's such lazy autism.
It's middle-aged man autism.
Where Hawaiian shirt does all the heavy lifting.
Basically, yeah.
Are you trying to find thin fat again?
You won't find fat photos of me on the...
It's been white.
I found one though.
Yeah, I mean, that was last year. That was last year. Look, we just had the second kid. I'm sat on a...
Yeah, but you didn't have the second kid. Your wife did.
Yes.
You're not pregnant.
No, but there is such a thing as a sympathy belly. You not heard about that?
For in solidarity.
Yeah, in that apparently men, when they become fathers, they release hormones that it makes it harder to lose weight. It's called a sympathy belly.
Yeah. Well, the dad bod is a...
Well, yeah, exactly. And the dad bod is actually, it kind of makes me look like a Renaissance nude.
Yeah, you got like
milky, overflowing, sort of thick, juicy,
bursting at the seams,
gorgeous. Charlie, this is Charlie. This is devastating.
Christ.
Typing in Finn Taylor fat fuck into Google image search on my own podcast. If you did that in any other workplace, you'd be summarily fired. Can you imagine?
Your boss, fat
Your
fuck.
boss just typing in fat fuck into Google. Honestly. My parents are coming to stay this weekend. I will get them to send me an image of me when I was an overflowing, bubbly Renaissance nude of a teen. But my personality was Hawaiian pizza. That's how.
Yeah, it makes sense. Right, so let's go to Peter Bruegel.
So explain for the listeners.
This is at the Rijksmuseum. So this is my favourite kind of painting is this sort, which is basically like medieval panoramas.
Right.
So it shows an image of what's going on in a town.
So medieval.
Your idea of
a medieval dad would have done this, like would have held the phone and tried to keep it straight.
Yeah. And so this is just in some village. It's a bit more real than the Honors Bosch stuff, but it's fucking chaos. And what I've sent it in on is right in the middle of this is comedians. Right?
Oh, really?
So this is stand-up in the Middle Ages, or like a little travelling play. Yeah. Right? So everyone in the fair, they're all watching it. So, and what it said is that what's going on in this scene is in this play, basically a guy who was worried that his wife's cheating on him.
Yes.
Hired a merchant to carry him in his rucksack into the guy's house.
Right, so it's a cuck in a rucksack. It's a
cuck in a rucksack.
It's a cucksack.
Which is, to be fair, as you said, most comedy in doesn't age well. It's not funny. But this is really...
This is fucking hilarious.
That's fucking hilarious. Look, he's in a cuck in a rucksack.
Cucksack. That guy's wearing a cucksack, so he's got a cuck in a bag, and the cuck's pointing his head out, looking at his wife kissing someone else. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. I mean, that's tiny in the middle of this huge panorama.
And people are lapping it up.
They absolutely love it.
People down there are fucking loving it. Do you reckon for our live show, if I came out with you in a bag, just poking your head up like that, and then someone was just getting off with your girlfriend? And
yeah, and then what are they sneaking around the back? Yeah, but it's just...
Cucksack. Do you reckon he's tugging it in there? Do you reckon the cuck in the bag's having a little go? Maybe this is like... Because obviously they didn't have wardrobes back then.
Yeah.
If you were a cuck in medieval time, you had to hide in a bag to watch your wife get it on with someone, and you're jacking it in a little bag.
Yeah. But then his head just popping out. I'll get a big laugh now.
That's hilarious. That's absolutely
If you
brilliant.
didn't know he was in there, and then he posted that, you fucking my wife. That's brilliant.
I think it was after this that they started Have I Got News for You, actually.
No, Have I Got News for You had started. It'd been around for like 20 years.
Been around for a while. Oh, sorry.
Been around for like 200
years. They thought,
years.
we've got to get this guy on. Cucksack. That's brilliant. So what's this? This painting's by who?
It's either by Peter Bruegel, the younger, or someone in his school of painting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are not attributed to, because they're all kind of the same, but they're done by his assistants or whatever. So he did the Huntsman in the Snow, which is a very famous one. So all of these are sort of panoramas. Unlike Hieronymus Bosch, where it's just like a guy who should be in a mental asylum.
Yeah.
He does the same style, but it gives a pretty good image of like shit medieval life.
Yes.
Which I absolutely love.
Yes.
If you zoom in on that, just zoom in on any of them, there's always just...
And I suppose what I find funniest about...
Look at that, it's incredible.
What I find funny about art history, lesbian history,
amazing.
whatever you want to call it, is that people take these paintings and they try and extrapolate socio-political theories from them, from the style.
Yeah.
So they'll be like this, like the Hannah Gadsby show, they'll be like this...
This is Nanette.
This is Nanette.
Right.
So they'll look at a medieval panorama and they'll go, the thing that we get from this is that women should be paid more. And you're like, how the fuck have you got that from that?
Well, from Nanette, you could probably... You're not going, how the fuck have you got that? When
From
she's
Nanette,
like, women should get paid more. It's not a huge jump.
From the net, the thing I took from the net was... you don't find this funny enough to do stand-up about it. Okay. That's what I took from it. I was like, you've been through something horrible. I wouldn't write a joke about it.
Right. And she didn't. So I don't know what you're telling her to do. She didn't at all.
I'm telling myself not to watch it again. That's what I'm telling myself.
I just thought it was very brave of her to post a special when she bombed the whole last half.
Yes.
I would have been brave. Like, go again. Like
I'd say you recorded this over 2 or 3 nights, right?
Yeah, I'm like, we've all had tough gigs, but like, I'm sure you can get another one.
Just go again. Go again. Take 2, I reckon. You just take 2.
She really lost the room in the second half, I thought.
Yeah, but then they stood up and applaud, which is lesbian history.
Right.
It's kind of they read into things, the lesbians, that the straight man's obviously we're simple creatures.
Yeah.
I was having my wife recently was saying that my radar for sex is bad.
Right.
As in when
gender?
No. as in like when she might be up for it.
Right.
And I think that's because it's not a radar.
Okay, what is
That's too sophisticated a system.
It's an oral history.
No, it's like the Israeli defense system. If anything comes into the orbit, I'm shooting it down. It's the Iron Dome.
Right.
My sex drive is the Iron Dome.
Well, because you can't risk missing the opportunity.
Exactly.
Right.
If something that looks like a wife comes into my airspace, I'm shooting it down. Get that down now. Ask questions later. Bang. Okay, that was the neighbour. I'm sorry about that. That's what it is. The radar implies that you're like judging distance, you're judging shape, you're judging like that's at a speed of 20 knots. That's too slow for the Israelis. Bang, done.
Yeah, and you need a tough deterrence. A deterrence being not having sex with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You need to deter your wife from the idea of not having sex with you.
It's exactly true. So, my sex drive is like the Israeli defense system. It's the iron bone, if you will. There's some. I don't know what's happening next door.
Yeah, sounds like one of those Hieronymus Bosch painting next door.
There's a Hieronymus Bosch painting happening next door. Anyway, I mean, we should talk about the Reformation a bit, should we?
Oh, that came into it. The Northern Renaissance, much like the Protestant Reformation, it was about taking it away from this holier than thou, divine, kind of untouchable. If you look at the Italians, it's either harking back to the Greeks and the Romans, like School of Athens, like that painting we looked at.
Yeah.
Like a world that no one can relate to. A statue of David, it's myths, it's Venus.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Reformation, when they're starting to break down those power structures, and that's why Peter Bruegel the Elder, with those big medieval panoramas of peasant life, it's depicting reality.
It's realism.
He's Michael McIntyre.
Yes.
It's like, or like Peter Kay. You know your dad when he's reversing.
Yeah, he's drawing the man
They
draw.
always do that thing.
Yeah,
that's Jason Manford, I think. But same different.
Yeah, exactly.
What's it? They've got this superpower where they could they hog the seat there and they look back, don't they?
And then they're doing that, aren't they? They're doing that. Yeah. What? You're not on a power steering, lad. Yeah, they're doing that.
Yeah, Peter Bruegel the Elder.
At a wedding, I'm doing that. They're loving it. The mums, they're loving it. Yeah.
You're loving a bit too much love there.
Whereas the Southern Renaissance is fucking clown school.
Yeah, it's Gaulier.
It's Gaulier. They're winning the awards, but they can't make a living.
Yeah, so they're all like that, apart from Hieronymus Bosch, who fuck knows what he was on.
No, he's, yeah.
But I don't know much about him as a person. Like, surely...
Yeah, get his life up,
surely
Charlie.
he ended up dead in a fucking gutter. Like, that's the maddest paintings I've ever seen.
It's a good name, Hieronymus. I reckon it must have been in the hat when you were being named.
Yeah. Hieronymus Gould.
Hieronymus Gould. Anyway, let's stop having fun, please, Charlie.
Sorry,
stop having fun. Think of the listeners. They want to know about Flemish primitivism.
Yep. Scraping the barrel here.
I reckon Flemish is maybe the least spoken language for non-native speakers.
Right.
As in, what language are you learning as well as English? Flemish.
Yeah.
Never been said.
But Flemish and Dutch is basically Old English, right? They're actually the same kind of thing. So they're actually quite easy to learn.
But Flemish is a mix of French and German.
Oh, right, yeah.
Flemish
well, I mean, Belgium and Netherlands, it's like, as a country, it's a complete fucking mess.
Oh, the whole place.
Because Belgium's got like 15 million people, and then it's got 6.
I don't think it's got that many people.
And then it's got like 6 distinctively different cultures.
In Belgium, you're either a chocolatier or a paedophile. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's. Or you're less than 10 meters away from both at most times. So if you're wondering where these fucking mental paintings come from, this is because it's not an art podcast.
No, it's not.
This is a history podcast. It's a fart podcast.
Thanks, Charlie.
We really should have done some fart history. History of fart.
Don't tempt Charlie.
Charlie, what I want to know, Charlie, is when was the first fart ever laid down on tape? That's what I want to know. Anyway, right. So what happens is you've got Bruges, Ghent, and Antwerp.
Yep.
All quite farty cities.
Right. Right, yeah.
They become major centres. Well, they're eating chips and beer. That's the Belgian diet. Yeah. Farty people.
Yeah. There's not good food around that.
No. Stodge.
Yeah. Mayonnaise, chips.
It's toddler with beer that's the strength of wine.
Yeah,
that's the Belgian diet.
Yeah.
My kids have a great time in Belgium. What's for lunch? Chips and mayonnaise. Yeah. Brilliant. They get wealthy from cloth production.
They get a lot of wool from England. That's kind of the big...
And they're making wool, but also Florence are making wool. Yeah. And then people, they start buying silk and wearing silk.
Right.
So I guess this is actually, Renaissance is sort of lingerie starts to come into it.
Right.
Would you say?
Victoria's Secret.
Silk, underwear, dressing women up as cakes and shit.
But it's now fine garments are more readily available for a new class of people. So
before then, they're just kind of wearing like potato sacks.
Yeah, so this is kind of the beginning of the end of the potato sack era.
Which is great.
Yeah, so finally we're emerging from potato sacks.
We've gone from straight to gay.
Yeah.
Straight potato sacks.
And now it's these fine, wool, silk cloths.
Doublets, jerkins. And then publishers, they start... But I tell you what we haven't actually dealt with. We haven't dealt with literature, because part of the Northern Renaissance is literature. Mm-hmm. There's a guy called Montaigne, French cunt, who I did in uni.
Right.
One of the most boring books I've ever read. And I've read some fucking boring books.
Right.
I would rather read a children's book without children there than read this book again. And I had to do this for a module in uni. This is like early humanist literature. It's basically a French guy who's got depression writing a book about how depressed he is.
Oh my God, depressed French guy is one of the worst.
1,000 pages. It is.
Do you read all of it?
Yeah, I had to read all of it and make notes about how fucking sad.
1,000 pages. Like
I'll summarise it for you now. I'm French. I'm sad.
What's he sad of?
He's sad because he's French and everything smells. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd like to go to work. Oh wait, I'm in France. Everyone's striking. I've got quite sensitive nose.
Why is he important historically? What's his special move?
So he's one of the first. This is one of the precursors to the novel.
Right.
So literature doesn't really exist.
What, a long whinge?
It's basically a long old whinge. It's a one-sided conversation with a therapist that's not there.
Right.
So this is 16th century, I think. He invents introspection.
He invents it?
Yeah. Well, so no one had been looking inward before. They'd just be looking out.
What an absolute disaster that's been.
So he goes, I am myself, the matter of my book.
Yeah, he's like Oppenheimer creating the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you fucked it, lad.
He critiques the blind adherence to social norms.
Right.
And he invents cultural relativism.
Right.
It's so fucking boring, this book. He just wangs on and wangs on and wangs on. It's the birth of people basically becoming tortured artists.
Right.
All the worst people we went to uni with were around in this time.
Right.
So to end this devastatingly serious series. This has been one for the lesbians. If you're still with us, maybe play this sort of for your first dance, which I imagine is just more of a stomp. Put your big boots on, stomp on the floor. Everyone's frowning at a lesbian wedding. First up, I don't like this. Don't like this at all. This is a great series to accompany yourself up a fucking mountain, hiking. They love the heights, the lesbians, don't they? They love taking the upper ground in more ways than one. To compare the two, the Southern Renaissance, naked, hot, beauty,
an impossible ideal,
like makes you feel small, cowardly.
I will never have a penis that small.
I'll never have a penis that small. How can I live to shrink my penis to this size? The Northern Renaissance is look how good an apple that is. That seems to be.
Hey, do you remember your dad? You know when you're growing up and dad's on holidays, right? They get to the airport. What is it, like 4 a.m? Dad, the flight's not till 1 p.m.
It takes 3 hours to park the car, and then if you're lucky, you've got to get your bag through passport control.
Yeah, that's what they're like. Right. So that's the
Northern Renaissance. So Northern Renaissance is Peter Kay in the 90s. The Southern Renaissance.
I guess it is.
Yeah, it basically is, isn't it? That's what the Northern Renaissance is. Toddlers at a wedding, running across the stage, playing the dictaphone into the mic. That's the Northern Renaissance. And then, I don't know what the Southern Renaissance is. Frank Skinner. It's all dirty.
Yeah.
Lewd,
yeah.
Skinner before he went clean.
Horny.
If you'd like another episode on, please, God, not this
I actually
week.
have a good suggestion what to do our Patreon on for this week.
Go on.
The performance artist, Ching Heiser, who is the maddest cunt in the fucking world. It's brilliant. You'll love it. I promise.
When you said performance artist, I was ready to slap down a hard veto.
Right.
I was ready to use my
All right. Well,
Security Council.
Just to give you a little tease of what we'll talk about in the Patreon. Ching Heiser's Taiwanese performance artist. His first piece was called Jump. Right. This is when he was like hack and shit.
Right.
He just jumped off a 3-story building, and you know what? In retrospect, he said it's not my best work.
I'll tell you how that could have been better.
Yeah.
If it was a 10-story building.
He broke his ankle and it never healed.
That is quite funny, to be fair to him.
And then what he's most famous for is he did a piece called the Time Clock piece, which we will talk about in detail, where he took a photo every hour for a year.
I feel like I've been hijacked. I feel like you've just said that the Patreon this week is going to be a Taiwanese performance artist.
He took a photo of himself every single hour for a year.
Right.
So he could only have maximum 50 minutes sleep. He only missed 23 photos over a year.
Well, then it's not a complete project, is it?
Yeah.
It's pointless. What a waste of time.
He overslept 23 times.
What a fucking idiot.
He sets an alarm every 50 minutes. Like, fuck.
Because once you've missed one, you go, I've got to start again.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll discuss it. It's great stuff.
For £3 a month, you can become a truther. Do you want more lesbian history?
Yeah.
Then join the Patreon. Other than that brings us to the end. Zulu's a good film. That's my main takeaway.
Yeah. And Peter Kay's a great
My
artist.
main takeaway is, from this series, I was right to watch Zulu instead of researching this. Anyway,
we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week for something a bit juicier, I reckon.
We'll get a genocide in there.
We'll get a genocide next week. We've eaten our greens. Yeah. Next week is back to burgers.
Back to genocide.
Back to burgers. Night night.
Bye bye.